Hey guys, welcome back to FHC Tactical. It is a gloriously cool morning here in the great state of Alabama. I'm out here on my back deck, going to set this video up for later today. But what we've got on tap is another 9mm test, 147 grain HST from Federal. We ran those 124 grain plus P's a couple of times. They did a phenomenal job. And nickel plating, nice hollow point design there. Deep cuts in it like all the HSTs do. Like I said, we've run that 124 grain a couple of times. We want to see how the 147 grain will actually do in our test. And as far as the pistols we're going to use, we've seen this one before. This is the Armalite AR pistol, 8.5-inch barrel. We've got a little Holosun red dot there on top. The next pistol is going to be a new one for us. This is the Springfield Echelon full-size 4.5-inch barrel. This is the comp version. Got the comp built in the front there. I'm doing a 1,000-round test on this one in a different video, along with that Holosun 507 comp on top. So far, I love both of these. And we've got a Streamlight flashlight there on the front. That'll be our second one. Third is going to be the Hellcat Pro Comp from Springfield. Also got that comp built in the front. We've had this several times. Phenomenal gun, shoots well. 3.7-inch barrel there. Now, we've said in the past that 3.7-inch barrel with the comp built in is probably going to act more like a 3.5-inch. We ran that against another Hellcat Pro that wasn't comped. The velocities were similar, so actually velocities are going to be more like what it should be out of the 3.7. This is that Taurus GX4. This is going to be the fourth one that we run here. It's the Toro edition 3-inch barrel, little Sig Sauer optic on top. If this round struggles at all, we all know it's going to be out of that 3-inch barrel. I think it does okay. I don't think it'll be a phenomenal round for that one, but we'll see. That's what we're doing the test for. But if it struggles, it'll be out of that one. And as far as our test, it's going to be the same as normal. We're going to get a 5-round average through our chrono. That'll give us our muzzle energy, muzzle velocity. We're also going to set a target up at about 15 yards, and we're going to see the accuracy of what we can do out of these guns on those targets. We'll try to have a camera down there on the target. It'll be about 15 yards. And then we're going to set up our gel test at about 7 yards. Normally we do that at 12 yards, but with trying to get 4 rounds from a pistol into a 6x6 gel, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break there. We're going to move into about 7 yards. Hopefully nothing gets out the side like that's been happening. So we're going to try to cut that out. It'll have a 4-layer clothing barrier, a layer of denim, a layer of fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. So we're setting all this up on this Sunday morning, so when I get back from church, I don't have to spend time setting it up then. I can just get onto the range and get to it. So with all that said, I think we've got everything set up. We're going to get to getting our averages right as soon as we get back from church. All right, we've got our chrono set up there in front of us. It's about 6 feet in front of me, and then I've got a target set up at 15 yards down there. But I've turned the camera to give you a little bit better view looking at me. I also have a camera on the target down there to give us a little bit of feedback down there, how we're doing. And first one up is going to be the Taurus GX4. Here we go. A little low on that one. 930. 925. 926. Duplicate. 926. I had an ND there. I didn't read it because I want to get a better feed here. 901. All right, that is 5. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is right there. Not a great round with that one, but it is what it is. I had one ND that I don't know where it went. I didn't even read it when we had it. I just loaded up another one and shot it. I have no idea. I think that was probably high, but anyway, 5 all in the 6-inch target there. Not great, but we'll see what we can do out of the Hellcat. Okay, we've got a new target up down there. We swapped over the chrono. We've got the Hellcat loaded up.
Let's see if we can do any better. That was a good one. 993. 991. 988. 987. 997. Should be 5. It is. Much better round down there too. Yeah, this one's with the Hellcat. That was actually the first shot there, and the other 4 were a little high and right, but I'm pretty happy with that one. Grouping was a little better with that, so we'll see what we can do with the Echelon here. All right, next one up is going to be the Echelon. Here we go. $10.60. Ooh, a little high. $10.40. A little better. $10.44. $10.48. And $10.39. That is 5. I know I got one high. The rest of them look like they're okay. I don't know. Let's get on and look at it. Well, I don't know what to say about that one. I got 2 right there, 1 there, and then I've got 2 way up here. Now, one of those I feel like I might have pulled it a little bit, but the other one felt good, so I don't know. Interesting on that. Let's swap over to the AR and see what happens. Okay, we got everything swapped over. We've got one more to do. It is the AR pistol. Here we go. Very high on that one. 1079 though. A little high. 1073. 1059. Better. 1090. And 1069. It should be 5. It is. Not great. I've got 2 flyers there. I've got 3 that's pretty close, but yeah, it is what it is. A little disappointing though. Let's go look at it. Okay, we're going to look at this real quick. This is the one from the AR. This was the first one here. I adjusted after that. These 3 was pretty tight. This one's a little low. AR pistol from 15 yards. I would sure like that to be a little better, but not too bad. Just really just this one flyer. That one was my first one. I adjusted after that. But anyway, we'll get everything back in there and we'll look at some numbers real quick. Okay, let's look real quick at our average velocity numbers here. Out of the Taurus GX4, we had an average velocity of 921 feet per second, extreme spread of 29, standard deviation of 10, which gives us a muzzle energy of 277 foot-pounds. No big surprise there. A little concerned about how that one's going to do in the gel, but I think it'll be okay. The Springfield Hellcat Pro Comp, average velocity was 991, extreme spread of 10, standard deviation of 4, which gives us a muzzle energy of 321 foot-pounds. Very, very consistent out of that Hellcat there. Extreme spread of only 10 feet per second. That's extremely good. And the velocity there is sitting right at 991 for an average velocity. And again, they were calling for 1,000 feet per second out of a 4-inch. So that Hellcat Pro generally outperforms a little bit. I'm sure somebody could explain why, but the velocities on it are generally pretty good. They're a little higher than what I would think would get out of a 3.7 inch. And they're normally really consistent. It's just a really good shooting gun. Out of the Springfield Echelon Comp 4.5 inch, the average velocity was 1,046 feet per second, extreme spread of 21, standard deviation of 8, with a muzzle energy of 357 foot-pounds. Pretty good numbers there, but that extreme spread did go up a little bit with that Echelon. And out of the Armalite AR pistol with the 8.5 inch barrel, we have 1,074 feet per second as our average velocity, extreme spread of 31, standard deviation of 10, which gives us a muzzle energy of 376 foot-pounds. Overall, I don't think we're going to have any problems at all. If we have any type issue, it could be out of that Taurus. I still think we're going to be okay. Above 900 feet per second there, I think it's going to perform okay. I don't think it'll be great, but I do believe it'll get the job done. But with all that in mind, let's get it all set up and let's get to it. Okay, we are down to it. We've got the gel set up at about 7 yards down there. We've got the closing barrier on, chrono's on, camera's on. I think we're ready to go. The first one up is going to be the Armalite AR pistol. Good shot. We'll go down there and look at it. Okay, let's look at it real quick here. Comes in and no surprises. Phenomenal job. Great temporary cavity stretch. That's a pretty good angle right there. You can tell it opens up immediately. That temporary cavity stretch, that lasts really almost down to about 7.5 inches, but very nicely done. No problems getting expansion there. We come down, get into that second block. Let me see if I can get it an angle. And you can tell, man, that thing, it has opened up really nice, just like it's supposed to do. Let's get a measurement here. Right at 17 inches. Nicely done. No complaints there, which no surprise. This is going to be a good round, perfect round for a little carbine 9mm pistol. But really good job there. We are going to load up the Echelon and see what it looks like. Okay, got the Echelon loaded up here. Let's see what it looks like. All right, pretty good shot. Let's go down and look at it. Okay, it's going to be the one on the top here. And quite honestly, if you didn't know which one it was, they're both going to look almost identical. Comes in, gets really good expansion, just like the first one. Very nice temporary cavity stretch. It might go even a little further than the first one. Almost down to 10 inches, really, before that thing trails off. Comes down, gets into the second block, just like the first one. And maybe, it's right at 17 inches as well. Maybe 17.25 if I get it the right angle. 17.25. Expansion looks just phenomenal there. No surprise, just like it's supposed to do. Did a phenomenal job. We're going to swap over, get the Hellcat loaded up. Okay, next one up is going to be the Springfield Hellcat Pro. Try to put this where it needs to be so I don't leave myself a lot of work for the last one. Can't tell. Maybe it's a good shot. Let's go down and look. That is velocity, by the way, on that one was 10.07. Okay, is going to be the one on the bottom. Has a pretty nice temporary cavity stretch there. Comes in right away, gets good expansion. It is not as big as the other two, but we know from past experiences sometimes that's a little misleading. It looks really good. Doesn't really, can't hardly tell where it ends. It just kind of fades off somewhere around maybe 7 inches. Comes down all the way to the end of the block. However, it is not sticking out of the block, but it is, you can see it's right there at it. So it's basically 16 inches. It also almost went out the bottom. However, we've got no marking here on the tarp. and that's just a thin tarp. So I don't think that this really kept it in the block. I think it had just spent all of its energy right there at 16 inches, right at the bottom of the block. I don't see anything that would lead me to believe that we bumped against the 2x down here and, you know, that kept it from going any further. I think it had spent pretty much all of its energy right there. Looks like good expansion on it. Can't tell that we get it out, but I don't see any issues with that. We're going to load up that Taurus, and we're going to see if we get this last one in. Okay, we are down to the last one of the day, the Taurus GX4. I debated on putting this one first because I was all over the place when we were getting our velocities, but I'm hoping I've left myself enough room that I can get this one in there and not do too bad of a job. So let's finish it off. Let's see what it looks like. I can't tell. Felt like a good shot. Let's go see. Okay, let's look at this one real quick. It is going to be this one right here, the second one down. Comes in, gets good expansion right away. Temporary cavity stretch looks very nice there. Again, it may not be as large as the first two. However, this one looks very nice. No issue there. It lasts maybe for, kind of hard to tell, but 8.5 inches or so, that temporary cavity stretch. It trails off and comes to a stop right there at about 13 3/4. Good expansion, however, it doesn't look phenomenal. You can tell didn't really get into that depth too much, but we do have expansion on that one. No issue there. It worked fine. So can't complain really out of a 3-inch barrel for that HST 147 grain. Does a very nice job. Might not be the one I would recommend. However, I don't see any problems with being able to use that out of a 3-inch barrel. We're going to get them all dug out, get them back into the shop, and give you our final thoughts. Okay, we got everything back in the shop. We're going to look at some numbers real quick and give you our final thoughts. We are going to start with the one from the AR pistol. The velocity at the gel there was 1074, and obviously did a really nice job. Great expansion here. Penetration on that one was 17 inches. So just perfectly done. Can't ask for anything more than that. I don't think we've lost anything there. We're sitting at 148 grains, so no, we didn't lose anything. Let's see what our expansion looks like on that one. 0.6375, 0.627, and 0.625. So just a great job out of that little AR pistol. Perfect little round for that. The next one is going to be that Springfield Echelon. Much of the same thing. Great expansion here. I think we went just a little further with that one. It was like 17.25 inches. But as you can see, it just perfect little round. Didn't lose anything. We're right at 148 grain. Let's see what our expansion looks like on this one. 0.6245, 0.6125, and 0.639. So nicely done. You can see that it is just perfectly symmetrical. Beautiful round. This one is out of the Hellcat Pro, and we mentioned they were calling for 1,000 feet per second out of a 4-inch barrel, and we had mentioned out of that Hellcat, even though it's a 3.7-inch barrel, it kind of acts more like a 4-inch barrel a lot of times. You get really good velocities off of that, and the velocity on the gel, or at the gel, from the Hellcat was 1,007 feet per second. So just perfect little star pattern. No problems with expansion. I don't think we've lost anything. We haven't. 148 grain. Let's see what type expansion we get here. The penetration on that one was 16 inches. So 0.6035, 0.608, and 0.607. So I was a little concerned, with this one, but yeah, no reason to be. That thing did phenomenally. And the one that I did have some concern with was out of that little Taurus GX4 3-inch barrel. You can tell, even if you're just comparing it to the Hellcat Pro, and we just did not get into that depth near what you would want. Still does a good job. It gets expansion. However, you can see it's probably not the best round for that, but it did do what it was supposed to do. 148 grain. The penetration on this one was 13 3/4. See what type expansion we got. 0.581, 0.607, and 0.6035. So good numbers, really great numbers. However, you can see we're starting to get in that area of velocity where if anything didn't go just right, I think you could have some problems with expansion on that one. But overall, really great round. I would say for these three, it did really good. That one, I would probably go with something else, but it still got the job done. Okay, guys, well, that is a wrap for another Federal HST, this one being the 147 grain version. What did you guys think? For me, I'm a big HST fan to begin with. They work really well across the board. If I'm buying one round for my AR pistol or maybe even the Echelon, I would think about using the 147 grain. If I'm buying, like I normally do, just a round that will work in all of my pistols, I would probably stay with that 124 grain. If I'm buying for one of the smaller pistols, my Hellcat or my Taurus or my 365, I would also stay with that 124 grain. But that's my feeling. Maybe you would disagree with that. We would love to get your feedback. Leave us a comment below. We've gotten a ton of feedback so far, a ton of support. We really appreciate that. We've got some more 9mm tests coming up we're excited about. We've got a couple of 5.56 that I'm excited about, and we've got a 6.5 Grendel coming up, I hope, in the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to be able to get that in. Really excited about that one. But if you like the content that we're putting out, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on. So when we put something new out, you'll get a notification. And as always, from FHC Tactical, make sure you get out and exercise your Second Amendment right. We'll catch you next time.